Okay, so here we go. All right, the first thing that we have to do is identify our angle that we're given. That's this right here. And then we identify the sides that we're given, because we have to figure out whether we use cosine or sine. Now, we know that cosine is the ratio of the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And sine is the ratio of opposite over hypotenuse. So I have to figure out what I'm given. If I'm given the adjacent side, then I have to use cosine. If I'm given the opposite side, then I have to use sine. So I have to figure it out. Well, first off, the hypotenuse is always the one that's opposite the right angle. So that's always true no matter where my angle is. No matter where this yellow angle, this given angle is, the hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle. Okay? But this yellow angle, this is what tells me whether I've got adjacent or hypotenuse. So this side here, this x that I'm interested in, is touching the angle. So what does that mean? Is it opposite or adjacent?
Adjacent.
Adjacent. And so since it's adjacent, do I use cosine or sine? Cosine, exactly. So I say the cosine of 39 degrees, because the cosine of my angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is x, hypotenuse is 7. What do I do now? Multiply both sides by 7. So I get x equals 7 times cosine of 39. Now, on the quiz, I'm going to provide these graphs for you. You can also use your calculator. That's fine. If you have a scientific calculator and you don't know how to use it to get the trig functions, then I'll be glad to show you. Okay? So, but if you don't want to bother with that, you just want to use the graphs, that's completely fine. The answers are all rounded to the nearest tenth. Okay? And on the quiz, it's never going to be a rounding error that's going to give you the wrong answer. Okay? So there'll only be one answer in the right neighborhood. Okay, so we look for the cosine of 39 degrees. And so I go here, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 39 right here. Bam. Right in between, that's about 0.775 or something like that, 0.78. So I say x equals 7 times 0.77, sure. And I get 7 times 0.77. It's 5.4. There you go. I check the answer for reasonableness, and yeah, sure. If this is 7, the hypotenuse is the longest side, so 5.4, that makes sense. Okay? Any questions on that? Nope. All right. Next one. We've already done number 4 in class, so we move on to number 8, right? Thank you. So here's number 8. I identify my angle. Here you go. I identify the hypotenuse opposite the right angle. There you go. And then I figure out which side this is. Is it opposite or adjacent? Adjacent. It's touching it, so it's adjacent. Guys, if you want to bring colored pencils and use those to on your quiz.
Yeah, then there's bunches of colored pencils on the
Oh, nice. There you go. So there you go. Cool. So if you don't want to bring your own, or if you don't have any, then there are some there. So if you want to use them during your quiz, that's perfectly fine. Okay? All right. And I suggest that you do kind of use them because it helps you. All right. So I've got adjacent and hypotenuse. What am I going to use? Cosine. So cosine of 54 degrees equals adjacent, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 12. Multiply both sides by 12. And I get x equals 12 times cosine of 54 degrees. To get cosine of 54 degrees, I go to my graph. Here's cosine. 54 is here. Bam. That's 0.55, about 0.58. Now, what's the part that you might mess up with on this quiz is just like making a mistake in reading the graph correctly. So just make sure you read it twice. Like don't just like check it once and then go for it. Like double check it. Yes, sir.
So we don't have to. We have to multiply with 12 in the cosine.
You just do 12 times 0.58.
Oh, I thought you. Oh, that's just to leave it like that. I don't know why.
No, this is your final answer. Would be 6.96. Does that make sense?
I guess
7.05.
So wait, Mr. Menu.
Yeah.
You probably already answered this, but would you prefer us not? We can't use a calculator. Just find the sine.
No. You can use a calculator. I used the calculator in getting the answers for the answer choices, but for instance, some of you guys got 7.05.
Yeah.
This would round to 7.0, right? If I rounded that to the nearest tenth, it would round to 7.0. 7.05 would round to 7.1. There would not be 7.0 and 7.1 as an answer choice.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
There would be 7.0 and probably 8.1 and maybe 6.2.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then you're not going to run into that kind of mistake. And if you you're not going to. You're not going to. So, clear? All right. All right. Here we go. Number 9. Bam. Identify the angle. Identify the hypotenuse. This side now, it's not touching, it's opposite the angle, so there you go, opposite sides. So what am I going to use? Sine, cosine? Sine. Cool. So I use the sine of 40 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse, so x over 19. I multiply both sides by 19. And I get x equals 19 times sine of 40. Go to your graph or go to your calculator. 40 degrees right here. That's about 0.64. So I get x equals 19 times 0.64 or 12.2. There you go. Check your answer for reasonableness. Yep, sure could be 12.2. Any questions on that? Nope.
No, sir.
No, sir, Bob.
Clear.
And, Jordan, are you in engineering?
I'm not.
You're not? I thought you were. Is anyone here in engineering class? You are?
Yeah.
Do you guys build bridges in engineering?
We built one.
You did?
in the-
The Brooklyn Bridge? We built one. The Brooklyn Bridge.
One.
Just
Whatever.
What was that?
We used
Spaghetti?
we used trigonometry to find the truss of the truss system for like bridges.
That's cool. Yeah, I was hoping to maybe build bridges in this class, but I don't know if I'm going to still do it as a project.
You can build bridges with from lava.
That's true.
A lot of bridges.
Lava bridges. You got to be careful about those lava bridges, though. All right, number 12 is the next one. We're going to do this, and we're going to do one more, and then we're going to move on to the next worksheet. Shit, for real. So, identify your angle. Identify your hypotenuse. This is opposite the right angle. This side is touching the angle, so it's not opposite. It is adjacent. So since it's adjacent, I use cosine. Cosine of 74 degrees equals adjacent, which is 19, over the hypotenuse, which is x. Wait a second. What's different about this one than the rest of them?
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Divide by 9.
I've got x on the bottom, so I have to multiply both sides by x first. I end up with x times cosine of 74 degrees equals 19. Then what do I do? Divide by cosine of 74 degrees. And I get x equals 19 over cosine of 74, which I then go to my graph, 74 degrees is here. That's right there in the middle, so 0.25, 0.275. X equals 19 over 0.275. X equals 69. Okay. There you go. Check for reasonableness. Could that be 69? Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Last one.
Last one, boys.
We'll do number 17. Actually, let's do number 18. Let's do number 18.
All right.
So what do? Identify our angle here. Identify our hypotenuse here. And then identify the side that's given. Oh, that's my opposite. So it's sine or cosine? Sine. Good. Sine of 37 degrees equals opposite, which is 37, over hypotenuse, which is x. Again, we have x on the bottom, so we multiply both sides by x. We get x sine of 37 degrees equals 37. Divide both sides by sine of 37. And we get x equals 37 over sine of 37 degrees. Go to our graph, find 37, 32, 34, 36, 37, bam, right there, 0.6. So x equals 37 over 0.6, or x equals 61.7. Technically, you don't really need a calculator for this test because you could do all the long division and multiplication by hand, but I don't suggest it. I don't suggest it. All right, so that's it for that worksheet. So let's move on to your next worksheet, which I have yet to pass out to you. Here, worksheet. There you go. Make sure everyone gets a copy.
Keep waiting. Tyler.
Yeah.
It takes a while. Yeah, he's a while. Last time you said the boss.
You know, Sky the boss.
Everybody get one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep, yep, yep. what is it? In some countries, it's like, do you hear the origin of salute is to show that there's no knife in your hand, right? Do you guys ever hear that story?
Nope.
It's like the reason why you'd salute is to like show that there's like you're not like carrying a knife to like.
I don't have a knife in my hand.
I don't have a knife in my hand.
Why don't they do like this?
Good point,
Did they have
right?
guns back then?
What?
Did they have guns back then?
I don't know.
Guns and rifles.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's different thing.
Okay. So let's take a look at number 1. So number 1 is asking you is a different question. In order to do this question, you have to identify first the sign of C. So the sign of C means the sine of this angle. Well, the sine of an angle is what?
Opposite over hypotenuse.
Opposite over hypotenuse. So first you identify the hypotenuse, that's this one here. And then you identify the opposite side, which is this one here. So the sine of C is simply opposite, which is 21, over hypotenuse, which is 29. And that's your final answer.
But it
Oh,
says
what?
to express your answer as a fraction.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
I overthought it, and I was like, maybe I had to reduce it.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay, so 21 over 29 is my answer, is our answer. Simple as that. Identify the opposite side, identify the hypotenuse, you're good. Okay. Any questions on this? It's a little bit different. Okay, so then next one. Number 3. Obviously, I crossed out some questions on there, so you don't do them. The tan ones, yeah, exactly. So cosine C, first identify your angle. Whoa, what's that gonna do? Identify your angle. That's this. Cosine is what?
Adjacent over hypotenuse.
Adjacent over hypotenuse. So here's my adjacent side. Here's my hypotenuse. So the cosine of C is simply the adjacent, which is 36, over the hypotenuse, which is 39. Now, am I done, or is there another step I can do? Reduce. What's the reducing factor? Good, good. I simplify by dividing by 3, exactly. And I get cosine of C equals 12 over 13.
You want us to write it out like that?
The answer will just be like, it'll just be like 12 or 13. It's multiple choice, yeah. It's multiple choice. Any questions on this? No?
Oh, sorry about it.
Good stuff.
This is some solid mathematicus. You know, in England, they don't call it you know how we say it's mathematics, right? So, guys, this is interesting, I promise. So, you know how in the United States, we call it mathematics, right? Like, I'm studying mathematics, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't say I'm studying mathematic, right? Right? So we don't say I'm studying mathematic, I say I'm studying mathematics, like plural. But if you shorten it, you say I'm studying math, right?
Yeah.
Well, in England, they say I'm studying maths.
Quick maths.
It's true.
Quick maths.
So you're doing my maths. Doing my maths, really? All right. So let's do some maths. Do some maths. Yeah, they also don't say maths. It's more like math.
Math.
Doing maths.
Maths.
There's not like an eh. Like people don't say eh a lot in England. It's like maths. Studying on maths. Right. All right. Anyhow. Right, brother. Right, let's go play some rugby. All right. Number 7 and 9. 7 through 10. These ones are super simple, guys. So just don't overcomplicate it, and you'll realize it's very simple. All it's asking for is actually just the sine of 62. So you just go to your graph and you use your calculator. Sine of 62 is 0.88. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
0.88. So your answer is just 0.88.
You know how to do to the 10,000?
What was it? No. No, it says that, but I'm not gonna ask that. Cosine of 60 is the next one. Cosine 60, bam, it's 0.5. Cosine of 60 is 0.5. 0.5, and you're done. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, any questions on this?
Sure.
No. All right. The next couple of questions are exactly like the ones that we've done before, so just even more practice. If you take a look at like numbers 13 through 16, they're exactly like the ones we've done before, so just more practice on that because you'll have, I think, 4 questions just like that on the quiz. It's 11 questions, and there is a bonus question. So 11 questions, 9 are multiple choice, 2 are free response, 1 bonus question.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was the answer to the bonus question on the last quiz? With
Yeah.
the pots and
Oh, that was stressing me out.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. What was
Let
that?
me
So
stop
fun.
recording.